Nigeria is like a sheep without a shepherd. Nobody cares about her. Nobody watches over her. Nobody guides her. This is indeed a tragedy. Due to the negligence of the responsibility of so-called leaders in Nigeria, the poor citizens and the average citizens took it upon themselves to protest against bad governance, which was interpreted to be end bad governance in Nigeria and the corruption, because the level of the corruptions in Nigeria has no bound, and hunger. People are hungry. They cannot feed. They barely have one square meal in a day. A situation whereby the farmers have been deprived not to farm due to the insecurity in the society. What else do we expect? There's high level of prejudice, no unity. The people you called the leaders are representing themselves. Nobody is representing the poor. No one is representing the market people. Nobody is speaking on the behalf of the farmers. Whenever they are being hurt, right in their own farmland, nobody will speak for them. They will only cry foul and enter their home if they are even alive to do that. It has bad to that extent. Nobody is speaking on the behalf of the physical challenge people. You will see the physical challenge people be dragging road with the normal people. Nobody to speak to provide the system that protects and guides them. Nobody is there to speak for their interests. My people, the question here is that what is the root cause of all these problems? That the Senate House of Assembly are just there representing themselves and their pocket. Nobody is representing the poor pregnant women. A woman went to the hospital the other day. She was unable to pay the hospital bill. At the end, she was abandoned and rejected. This is a woman who is on labor. She later gave birth to her baby by the bush side, around the hospital premises. After watching an horrific story like that, situation like that, what comes to my mind first was that, what if at the being there was a complication? The answer to that question is unimaginable. I thank God for the God who remember a poor pregnant woman with love and protection to provide for her a safe delivery. There are similar issues just like this, and the one that is even more horrific than this, that never ends well, which I cannot be able to dive into all of that for now. The root cause for all this problem still lies. What is the root cause of all this problem? One of the root cause of all this harvest of problem, we are able to lay hands on it, is the 1999 Constitution of Nigeria. Because since that constitution was established, check it from that time, that 1999 till now, what must have getting out of hand is uncountable. This 1999 Constitution of the Nigeria was established during the transition to democratic rule and create the fourth Nigerian Republic. And some of the concerned good citizens of Nigeria has already noticed this. They have said that some certain provisions are already outdated, or will I say inadequate, for addressing current challenges we are facing. And some advocates for constitutional reform has already seeking to address issues already. Issues like federalism, resources, allocations, and equitable representation. And in order to correct and to solve constitutional problems like this, it involves public debates, legislative approval, and sometimes a referendum, which we are looking forward to see. Let's listen to one of the senior advocates in Nigeria, Mike Ezeakoome. Listen and be blessed. Bye-bye.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the program. This is Sunday Politics live on Channels Television. I'm Seun Okimaloye in Abuja. I'm not sure there is anyone in today's Nigeria who does not agree that our Nigeria needs urgent fixing. The conversation around fixing Nigeria has been on for years, and the debate on how best to handle the issues confronting the nation has been on, and there are those who have argued differently on how we should go about it. The Nigerian Constitution has been at the center of all of the conversation, and there are those who have argued that the present Constitution we run is our major problem, bequeathed to the nation by the military in an hurriedly delivered military to civilian rule transition program. There have been a series of efforts at fixing the Constitution, and in this Fourth Republic, there have been a series of national conversation and some conferences. But here we are today, the Constitution is with us, almost 25 years down the line, when that Constitution was bequeathed to us. Now, perhaps I should give some perspectives and, give you a background, on 1999 and how we got here. Yeah, military constitution. That's what we got from the military through a decree brought into place a constitution, 1999, through the military decree 24 of 1999. And so the major objectives were set as to how and what the constitution will stand for. But of course, the constitution has its background and it has what brought it, In the end, there are criticisms about the constitution. Of course, the 1999 constitution have been criticized for so many issues. That is a product of the military era and with several inputs that are not gotten from the Nigerian people. But the big question will be, there are also attempts by the Obasanjo regime to fix it. So there was a 2005 National Political Reform Conference initiated by President Olusegun Obasanjo. The objective of that conference was to address various national issues, including federalism, electoral reforms, resource control, and the devolution of powers. The outcome was that the conference produced a report with several recommendations, including the adoption of a 6-year single-term presidency and the creation of more states. However, the conference work was largely overshadowed by the controversial attempt to amend the constitution to allow President Obasanjo a third term in office. Fast forward to 2014. So the Yar'Adua government went, here we come, we had the Jonathan government. In 2014, President Goodluck Jonathan convoked the 2014 confab. The objective was very similar to what we had earlier, and it was to address issues of national unity, which was one of our major issues at that time, governance and the structure of the federation. The conference focused on areas such as resource control, state creation, and the devolution of powers. But the outcome was that the conference produced a comprehensive report with about 600 recommendations, including the creation of additional states, the adoption of a new revenue sharing formula, and the establishment of state police. However, the recommendations were not implemented before the Jonathan government left office, defeated in 2015 by the Muhammadu Buhari government, which spent 8 years and shown little interest, him and his party, at implementing or adopting that conference resolution. 2021, we saw an alteration, an amendment to the Nigerian Constitution, which is perhaps about the 5th alteration to the Constitution. It was under the Buhari government. The objective also similar, issues around resource control, electoral reforms, and judicial independence. But the outcome, of course, gave rise to the amendment of the Constitution. Now, if you look at all of these conferences and all of these efforts, one thing is very common. And the common themes across all these conferences are that issues of federalism and devolution of powers, issues of resource control, state creation, and electoral reforms. These are some of the predominant issues that resonated across the last 25 years. So on Friday, President Bola Tinubu welcomed to the presidential villa a group of eminent Nigerians led by a former Secretary General to the Commonwealth, Chief Emeka Anyaoku. And they made a presentation to the president. Chief Emeka Anyaoku did the presentation. He led the group. And let me allow you to remind you of what Chief Anyaoku told President Tinubu.
The convening of a National Constituent Assembly with the mandate to produce a draft People's Democratic Constitution. The Constituent Assembly should be of directly elected individuals, elected on non-political party basis, possibly 3 individuals per state and 1 from the Federal Capital Territory. The draft constitution produced by the Constituent Assembly, as I said, should be put to a national referendum, and if approved, should then be signed by the President as the genuine, legitimate Nigerian People's Constitution.
That was a presentation, a Constituent Assembly, and there seems to be a structure that has been presented to the President, but the President responded with some positive body language to their request. Take a listen to the President.
I definitely want to assure you that whatever is necessary, I'll put happiness and good governance in the heart of all Nigerians. This is what I will do. I'm still preoccupied with thinking and tinkering with the economic reform. That's my first priority. Once I get that reform in place as soon as possible, then I look at other options.
It does look like there's an assurance from the President in his response. The body language also looked to me like he welcomed the group with good spirit and, of course, and in good intention. But then, a lot of what were discussed, we do not know. Let's now speak with a member of that group, the Patriots, and let's get the conversation forward. I'm being joined tonight by a professor of law, a senior advocate of Nigeria and rights activist, Chief Mike Ozekume. He's live with us here in Abuja studio. It's a pleasure having you. A member of the Patriots also. I forgot to add that. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, Shio.
I appreciate it.
I'm a patriot.
Yeah, thank you so much.
I've been a pan-Nigerian all my life, 66 years on earth now. And I'm happy that all the conferences you mentioned, I've been part of them. 2005, Obasanjo's Political Reform Conference, I was there. In fact, I headed the splinter group of the civil society group that did a lot of job in this area. Senator Adams Oshomole, Senator Shehu Sani, Smart Adeyemi. They were some members of that my own group. In 2009, I was also at the Vision 2009 as to how to make Nigeria a great country. And in 2014, at the President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan confab, I was there fully. Incidentally, with all humility, the conference leadership named me the C0 of the conference. It's there on record. And I've been a member of the Patriots Group, which is concerned with nation building. I want to have a great country, resourceful country, prosperous country, under a constitutional democracy, a people-driven constitution, a country where mutual respect, where genuine peace, social justice, not peace of the graveyard or cemetery, like late Chief MK Abiola we call it, will prevail. It was this Patriot Group that was founded by legendary Chief F.R.A. Williams, who died some years ago at 84. He passed the baton of office to the greatest constitutional lawyer that has emerged from the face of Africa, Professor Ben Nwabueze, senior advocate of Nigeria, who transited last year at the age of 91 years. Then the baton passed on to our present eminent international icon, personality of no mean feat, Chief Emeka Anyaoku, a nonagenarian, 91 years old, who is still bellyaching over the problems of Nigeria. A man who was Secretary General of the 56th Nation Commonwealth of Nations, including Britain, including places like India, controlling Canada. All those countries making about 2.4 billion people in the world. Now, he led us to the president over worries about how the nation is going by making certain demands of the president. And I've had people talk again and again, saying, why are we talking about a new constitution? Is that our problem? I said, hello. That is the beginning and the end of our problem. Because a nation without an acceptable and legitimate constitution, which is autochthonous, indigenous, people-driven, can never get nationhood. As the program goes on, I'm going to give you some examples. But first, because the constitution is the birth certificate of a country, it's what tells us what system of government that country practices. Is it federalism? Is it unitarism? Is it monarchy? Is it what type of government? Is the constitution that tells us about rules of engagement. For example, Sheon, you are going from here to Plateau State, Jos. You have to pass through this place here, Lafia. Is that not so? Mm-hmm. You will be going because you are facing Jos. You will pass through Akwanga. You get to Do. Then you get to Jos. That is the only way you can get it because you are going to Jos. Compare with someone who is going to Jos. And then he decides to face Lokoja. He gets to Okene. He gets to Auchi. He gets to Benin. He takes there to Saple. He starts going to Bayelsa. He is not going to get to Kaduna. What will he do? He must reset by refocusing and coming back.
From your explanation, it does look like Nigeria has been heading for the last almost 20 years to a journey of nowhere.
Oh, it's a journey to no destination.
Let me give you
Prof,
another. Just a moment.
Let me give you another example.
Just a moment, Prof. I want us to be empirical and very analytical in our conversation tonight. And in your explanation and in the wisdom of the patriots, and I see the group there led by Chief Emeka Anyaoku. I see the likes of Ben Obi, the likes of Senator Shehu Sani. These cut across political bias.
No, it's even non-political.
It's a political group.
Partisan. For example, I am not a politician.
Yeah, but you see the personalities there. They are Nigerians, eminent Nigerians. So for them to say, and in their major submission to the president, to say that we need Nigerians represented by every ethnic group in a room fixing Nigeria's problems. What are Nigeria's problems? And I, for example, I like to poke your mind. Your intellectual mind, of course, this time around. Maybe not the legal part of your mind. Can you identify 3 of the most pressing problem of Nigeria that we can contextualize into our conversation? What would you say, Prof, if you have the solution on your left hand to fix the problem? What would you identify as 3 major Nigeria problems?
The first one I will identify is lack of nationhood. Nigeria is a country still yearning for nationhood.
What does that mean?
What it means is that we are not united. We are still what Chief Obafemi Awolowo once called a piece of geographical expression. Ahmadu Bello once said it was a piece of historical mistake because we were cobbled together on 1st January 2014 by Lord Lugard, the Southern and Northern Confederates, and the Lagos Colony, after Nigeria had been given her name by a young British author who wrote in the London Financial Times of 8th January 1897, calling it Nigeria, that Niger area. That is first major problem. In other words, we were cobbled together through the direct and indirect rule system that we were operating, with all of us already enjoying our independence. The Benin Empire, the Oyo Empire, the Kanem Bonu Empire, the ancient Ife. We were already independent, having our own systems of government, and we were happy. Jaja Fopobu, Nana of Ichekiri, Oba of Beramin Ogbaise of Benin, who beat the British back with bare knuckles, for which he was deported to Calabar, where he lived and died 27 years later. So such people that were already used to their independence and ways of life, to put them together and say they cannot now discuss their future.
Is it the reason for the agitation we see in Nigeria? This idea of lack of nationhood.
In fact, it is the beginning and the end of it. I can assure you that you were talking about 3 problems. I identified that one major problem. If you don't have nationhood and nobody believes in Nigeria as a country, if I ask you, Shehu, where are you from? You won't say I'm in Nigeria. You first quickly mention your village and then your state. Then you are filling a form. After asking you for your name, the next question is place of origin. You put it town, they say local government. You put it, they say state. You put it, then they say religion. You are already being typified. You are already being profiled to know whether what we want here can come to you or not come to you.
But how do we resolve this? Because either we like it, you are an Ozekome.
Yeah.
You have your origin.
Yes.
You are of the Edo origin.
Yes.
And if you want to drill down, you can tell who your forefathers are.
Yeah.
I am on Okimbaloye, and I can also tell who my forefathers are.
Yeah.
But can we take away the fact that we are different tongues? Our tongues differ.
No.
And our presidents who have constituted conferences, at least 2 of the presidents have said, you can have every conversation, but the unity of Nigeria is non-negotiable. The former President Goodluck Jonathan said as much. In those kind of conversations, the fear of disintegration and some people wanting to exit the nation might start, don't you think?
Now, I tell you, Shehu, I am not saying every Nigerian should now be the same person. In fact, I've always argued, and I'm on record to say that of Professor Onigu Otite's 374 ethnic groups in Nigeria through his demographic survey. He was a great sociologist. that speak over 380 languages. Each of them must have a place and be respected in where he comes from. But when you want to roughing it over others, for example, like former President Buhari calling a whole ethnic group, one of the 3 largest ethnic groups, the Igbos, Southeast, as a dot in the cycle. What will you call me? A minority within a minority from Ijukwe, near Agenebode, Isako, East Local Government Area of Edo State. What are you going to call me? But in America, for example, they first ask you, what's your name? You tell them. They say, where are you from? We ask you, what do you mean? You mean where I work? Or where I schooled? Or where I live now? Or where I was born? Because each of them would have been different. But they regard themselves as Americans. So they have what you call faith in their country. We do not have faith in our country.
How do we do that?
And that is why when you go around on a Sunday, tomorrow is Sunday, today is Sunday. If you are going around, you will see different town unions. Where will you see a Nigerian union holding a meeting? So it's like the Bible. It says, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all things shall be added. If we get it right, constitutionally, because the present foundations are fundamentally damaged. They are damaged. I give you an example, Sheung. If you have a house that the walls are cracking, how do you repair the walls? Do you go to the walls, you take a hammer, you begin to chisel it with a chisel, right? Then you get cement, mortar. You call it bricklayer and say, help me patch this wall. He patches it. In 1 or 2 months' time, more chaos, more gullies, more cracks appear on the wall. You have to look for the cause of that wall. You discover that there's a big tree in your compound whose trees have sprouted. They have become so big that they have gone towards the foundation of the house. And is what is actually threatening it to fall. What do you do to that tree? You don't go to the tree and cut off the branches, because the branches will grow anyway again, and the walls will continue to crack. You go to the tree,
To the roots.
To the roots, uproot it.
So this solution,
root and branches.
the solution, the proposition of the Patriot is getting to the root of Nigeria's problem.
Getting to the root of Nigeria's problem.
So three representation of every ethnic group.
That's what the Patriot said.
So based on the sociology's recommendation, so we'll be talking about
just roughly 100. But the Patriots have looked at it again after further discussion that, look, we have suggested 3 representation elected on non-party basis. By the way, there are 3 modes of throwing up people to represent you: election, selection, or sortition. What do you call sortition? By lot. Now, the Patriots suggest 3 from each each state. But we have looked at it again that the ethnic nationalities in Nigeria must be represented to own a people's constitution so that no person can say he was marginalized. And that is why the Patriots told the president that he needs to look seriously at the 2014 confab. The reason is that there were 492 members representing every aspect of the Nigerian society. Elder statesmen and women, the youth, students,
the market people,
the market women and men,
manufacturers,
the physically disabled, the manufacturers, the private
lawyers,
sector, the police, the military, professional groups, the traditional institution, the civil society. We were all there, lecturers, judges. They threw them up from different organizations, had different ways of throwing up their own representatives. Like the students, they had to go for their own election. The NGOs, they threw up their own. So everybody that came to Abuja here for those 6 months was a representative of certain people, right? But the federal government then looked at it from a critical angle. For example, I was thrown up to represent my people in Edo State. But somehow, by Professor Pella's abracadabra magic, my name vanished from the scene. And when the matter got to the then president, whom, by the way, I had never met as a president when he was in office, as president or vice president or acting president, I never met him. People do not know. Google me and see my accept criticism of his government, as I did Buhari, as I am doing now. He said, why is his name not there? Put his name as a federal government delegate addendum. That is why tomorrow, when I'm going out, I hear somebody say addendum. I know that the person must have been at the 2014 confab, right? So the government nominated some few people. That was all. And we made over 600 recommendations, which if the Buhari government had looked at, or the present government looks at, as we told Mr. President, we are not saying that all Nigerians' problems will evaporate in one day. But you would have tackled them headlong. Do you understand me? Mm-hmm. And I try to, some of us who are nation builders, I'm not a politician. I regard myself as a nation builder, a human rights activist, a pro-democracy campaigner. I sit down to think and bellyache about the problems of Nigeria. Do you know, Sheon, that as far back as 1986, I had taken the then President Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida at the Armed Forces Ruling Council, AFRC, at the Attorney General to court against removal of petroleum subsidy. The judgment was December 29, 1987, by Justice Agoro. Just Google National Concord, Michael Zekome, Babangida. 37 years ago, this oil subsidy we are still fighting over today. Because my argument was that you cannot be made to pay for a product that you are having, like other people do not have it. What late Professor Claude Ake would describe as a disarticulate economy, where you produce what you don't consume and consume what you don't produce. That thing I saw 37 years ago, is what we are still fighting over today. And guess what again? I was the first proponent that June 12th should be a Democracy Day and not May 29, which is a mere handover. I fought this over the years. Later, in 2018, General Muhammadu Buhari as president made June 12th the Democracy Day. The same way at the 2014 National Conference, I moved a motion that Nigeria should go back to the first national anthem, the original anthem.
Although a lot of people disagree with it.
Yes, a lot of people have disagreed, but the entire 492 members, one of the few instances in which there was mass consensus, they brought that motion and we all stood up instantaneously and sang Nigeria, we hate thee. I wrote a book by that title, Nigeria, we hate thee.
In all of this, you've mentioned one major issue that is of paramount importance if we need to reform this country and if we need to go forward, which is the question of national unity. But we'll take a break. When we return, I'd like you to also explain how this will benefit the Nigerian poor. Because a lot of them, when you say constitution, they will ask you, who constitution helps? Because what matters to them is the food on their table and the money in their pocket and how they will feed. And I'd like you to explain the nitty-gritty of how a reformation of the constitution or a birth of a new constitution will help Nigerians, especially the average person. And of course, the issue of legality.
Yeah.
The Patriot mentioned the issue of referendum and how the National Assembly will come into. That was a major legal debate.
Yeah.
We'll take a break, everyone. But when we return, our conversation with Chief Mark Ozakame continues and we shall be discussing the plight of the average Nigerian, the way to deal with all of these problems under the Tinubu government. If the Tinubu administration accepts the Patriots' advice, will he be the greatest president we have seen in the last few years? Well, that's a big question. If the president accepts and adopts some of their recommendations, Chief Marcus Zekeme is with me on the program. I'll be back after this break, everyone. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. In the past week, the streets of Nigeria were engulfed by agitation by some Nigerians who took to the streets over hunger and state of the economy. Let's get back to our conversation with Chief Marcus Zekeme, who is one of the patriots, a group that went to the president to discuss the way forward and the solution to Nigeria's problem. Thank you so much, Professor Zekeme, for your time tonight.
Yeah, thank you very much.
A lot
We must
of
always
Nigerians,
have time for Nigeria.
Absolutely. A lot of Nigerians are arguing differently about the approach. But the question is that one thing that people are not disputing is that we have a challenge. And how we get there, the processes, and is what is getting us talking. There must be something at the minds of the patriots that made them to stand up, come together, and say, let us go to the president and discuss. What was that major fear that the patriots had?
Yes, after we had a colloquium in March this year, very big colloquium, attended by president governors, past governors, president senators, House of Reps, past ones, members of the diplomatic or captains of industry, the civil society. Most humbly, I presented the paper, the lead paper, the keynote address. The patriots came to the conclusion that Nigeria was on the precipice, on a dangerous precipice. And we cannot continue to pretend. You have a sore, then you bandage it and put sweet-smelling Sasarobia or Herman or Hugo Boss perfume, and you pretend that the sore is not there. It's there. So they saw the clear and present danger of Nigeria losing it.
In what sense?
In the sense that Nigeria is a pluralistic society. Pluralistic societies are governed by constitutions that take into consideration the peculiarity of the people, usually through federal constitutions, not the type of unitary system we are operating. The patriots gave the example of Canada, India, and Switzerland. Pluralistic societies that have their constitution subjected to the people in a referendum, and they are united. The patriots gave the example of Yugoslavia, which was under former Tito. They are broke up into 7 countries, independent states. The patriots gave the example of Czechoslovakia. After living together for 100 years, they broke up into Czech and Slovakia. Coming home, we gave the example of Sudan here. They had lived together for 3,000 years. A few years ago, they broke up into Sudan and Southern Sudan, and the wars have not ended. The patriots therefore felt that there is the need, the urgency of yesterday for Mr. President now to introduce a president's executive bill to the National Assembly. The fear of the National Assembly has always been that they are trying to be sidelined. No. Although the present constitution being militarily imposed as a schedule attached to Decree number 24 of 1999 is not a people's constitution, lying in its preamble that we, the people of Nigeria, made it when it was never subjected to a referendum or plebiscite.
But are those
we still know that It is still the constitution we are using.
They are constitutional legal minds that have also argued that when we say it's not the people's constitution, that non-Nigerians did not draft that constitution.
When they drafted it,
right? That is the and you know eminent lawyers who came out together to help draft that.
Was it subjected to any referendum in
there
this
are those
country?
who also say that which countries of the world do you have every person of the country impute in their constitution?
I will give examples during this program. Their imputes are usually through a referendum, a plebiscite. It was done by the Old Midwest region on the 10th of August, 1963, for them to break away from Western region to become the fourth region in Nigeria. Now, coming to that issue, you must have the National Assembly participating because they are in place. Their job is that they can only amend a constitution under Section 9. A National Assembly cannot make a new constitution. It is the constitution that makes a National Assembly because the tail cannot wag the dog. But the National Assembly under Section 4 and various sections of the Constitution have the powers to make laws for the peace, order, and good government of Nigeria. And one of the laws that the Patriots advised Mr. President to do, an executive bill, is to say, make a law convoking a constituent assembly. You can also call it Constitutional Assembly, Constitutional Congress, or Constituent Congress. It has many names. Make a law convening it. Then allow people to be elected on non-political partisan basis, while allowing the ethnic nationalities to be there thrown up by their people. This Constituent Assembly will now take into consideration the problems we are having. What are these problems? Of course, they will call for memorandum from the Nigerian people. They will look at the problems and then make a brand new constitution. It is not ended. That brand new constitution must be subjected to a referendum of the people, because the process by which a constitution comes into being is even more important than the contents of the constitution. When the people vote on the items, yea or nay, and they agree finally, then you have what you call a people's constitution, or an autochthonous indigenous constitution of the people. Because the people knew that they participated.
So let me ask you.
They own it.
Yeah.
So they believe in it. They believe that this is now how we should take Nigeria forward.
Must we constitute a constituent assembly before we can fix and get a new constitution?
Yeah, because the people are saying that the 492 members, which would have been a damn good one, it was not a constituent assembly. The same naysayers. We have to have a constituent assembly, and only the National Assembly can pass a law.
So what happens? Are you looking
at the draft constitution will now be signed by Mr. President.
Are you looking at a possible lacuna? For example, if there is a referendum, a plebiscite, to the effect that the people of Nigeria are saying we do not want a bicameral legislature, and that's how it's going to be. You think that that's the way out? Because the meaning of democracy, Sheung, are defined famously on the 19th of November, 1863, by Abraham Lincoln during his Gettysburg Declaration. It's government of the people, for the people, and by the people. That's why we call it democracy. Demos, people, cratic, power. Prof, that's power of the people. Now, the point I'm making, where I'm driving at is that there will be recommendations that we go into the referendum of, that we dissolve. Yeah, we dissolve the current political constitution of Nigeria. Sure, because how do you then transit? That will be. We have at least 9 to 13 off-cycle elections in states. We do not have a regular. Just about 29 states have governorship election constituted or done at the same time in the normal election cycle. Now it then means that, let's assume that the Nigerian people say, we do not want states again. Yeah. And we want regions. Yes. What then happens? How do you transit into that? These are matters of details that will be in the law to be promulgated by the National Assembly.
There are so many details.
Do you think that the President Bola Tinubu has the political will to make that
Well, he should have the political will, because these problems will not go away.
But how do you
until we
solve
tackle it
poverty
headlong.
constitution with solving poverty? How is it an antidote to poverty?
Oh, it is.
Is it an antidote
It
to
is.
the killings in
It
the
is.
Northwest? Is it
Let
an
me tell you,
antidote to
the killings you are seeing, the poverty, the corruption, they are all symptoms of a larger problem, which is the basis of what we are talking about. It's a larger problem. When you solve it, other things will fall in place. If the people decide, for example, that we do not need a wasteful National Assembly of 109 senators, 360 members of the House of Representatives, each of whom has special advisors, the special advisors having special assistants, the special assistants having personal assistants, the personal assistants having personal aides. Then you have one position carrying accretions up to 15 to 50, draining the little money that we have.
and also maybe that they will also discuss how a state government, unlike any other federal state in some part of the world, we have resources under their soil and they are not able to benefit from it.
These are some of the issues. For example, if the people decide that, look, we need only one, we don't need a bicameral legislation, we need unicameral.
And maybe on a part-time
360
basis.
members are enough. Or if all of them must stay, then we call it part-time basis. They are actually operating on part-time basis. Under the Constitution, if you attend for 6 months in a year, you have passed. So if you say part-time basis, then only those who have the interest of Nigeria at heart, who are not going to Abuja to make money, you will see coming up.
If the president,
they can also say,
Professor Ezekeme, if President Tinubu today proposes an executive bill to the National Assembly for the constitution of a constituent assembly for the purpose of birthing a new constitution, you think this present National Assembly, as it is presently constituted, will agree to it?
That is
knowing that there might be a prime target of such,
let me tell you,
a process.
That is why they just have to agree, because the problem will not go away. Like Naaman the leper in the Bible, he had to dip himself into River Jordan 7 times to become cleansed of his leprosy. We must clean ourselves of our political leprosy. And it requires the will of Mr. President and the National Assembly and a lot of patriotism, trailer loads of patriotism. Because the problem will not go. By the way, why are we still discussing this problem? Why has it not gone away?
We thought after Jonathan, I discussed this for almost a year.
Yes.
So in 2014, I've discussed it as a journalist. In 2005, covered
it. Will continue to come up.
We've had, in fact, there was Pronaco, you remember?
Pronaco was there.
In Lagos, although it was not government constituted.
Yeah. We all wrote, we all participated.
Yeah.
We all participated.
Yeah, but the question is that the way forward is fundamental. And
it's fundamental.
The political elite, as presently constituted, whether or not they will agree to this.
Well, the political elite has to agree. Let me tell you, if you are driving a car and the car has a knocked engine, is it not the engine you should look at? You begin to panel beat the car, spraying it with beautiful paint, buy new tires. Would that move the car? I am saying that the engine of the Nigerian state for now is knocked. And it is giving rise to all this mutual suspicion, religious intolerance. Why we did not be demonstrating more against Tinubu when they did not demonstrate against Buhari for the 8 years he was here? Why did the Igbo decide to quietly eschew this last protest? Because they said they would be targeted. Why are some ethnic groups more involved than others? It is at the heart of the problems we are talking about. And the president needs to look at this place broken away from eastern Pakistan, Bangladesh. Right? Yeah. Prime Minister Sheikh Hussaini ruled there for 50 years. She was a pro-democracy icon. The people loved her. But what started as a mere students' protest on the street over preferential treatment in the civil service being given to relations of veterans gradually snowballed and got bought over by the whole people. And they went on the streets. They have been going on, right? The woman was forced to abdicate office this very month, and a former Nobel laureate of 2006
is the leader in acting
is now
capacity.
the leader in active capacity. Listen, Seun, under Prime Minister Hosseini, Bangladesh developed, there's no question about that. They built good roads, railway lines, factories, gave some jobs, but the Temi graduates could not get jobs. And there was corruption, massive corruption. And the Prime Minister complained on one occasion that a personal aide stole $34 million, which angered the people. So what started as a small protest gradually snowballed until she was made to abdicate Dhaka, the capital city.
We cannot afford to get to
We
that
cannot
point.
afford. That is the fear of the patron. That is the fear of a person like me. Look at Kenya.
Are we gradually moving towards it? Is that
I
what
said Nigeria is on the precipice. You are still asking me, hold on.
Yeah.
Can I give just one more example?
Just give me a moment.
Just
give me
one
a
more
moment.
example.
Because we need to go on another break. But I would like to conclude and give Nigeria the way forward and how we can permanently solve this problem, not on a temporary basis.
Yes.
Because we do not need Panadol to solving cancer.
That's it. Now you are talking.
We need to fix it and fix it
Now you are
permanently.
talking.
We'll take another break, Chief Osakweme. And when we come back, our closing moment with Professor Mike Osakweme. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. Now our closing moment with Professor Mike Osakweme. If the patriots are speaking up, and those who believe that Nigeria is at a tipping point, the big question is that I'm very certain that a lot of Nigerians do not care what the process or the procedure of fixing their problems permanently, if it will affect their children and great-grandchildren. But the question is that how are we going to fix it? Let's hear from Professor Michael Osakweme in his closing argument.
Yeah. Closing
A
argument.
permanent fix.
Permanent fix. We must come together through this Constituent Assembly, make constitution owned by the people, subjected to their referendum so that they buy in.
So it will keep poverty, it will keep corruption.
It will, because the people would have agreed.
Your sector, legal
at
sector,
the
it
irreducible
is said that a
minimum.
lot of bribery comes through the judiciary. The corruption in the judiciary is like a cancer killing the nation.
Irreducible minimum of demands would have been agreed upon by the people. Let me tell you why President Tinubu must listen seriously to people like
From his
me
body
and-
language, does it look like he was receptive?
Yes,
Was
he
it positive?
He was receptive, positive,
Okay.
but he felt that economic reforms are his priority. Well, Mr. President, sir, that's where you are missing it. Because the economic reforms themselves cannot take place under a superstructure that is fundamentally flawed. Let me tell you, S.L. Akintola was premier, the last premier of Western Region. AMA Akinloye, who later became chairman, I think, of the party before the PDP. He went to Akintola on a visit. He went with a cassette. He played it. He said, "Sir, they are praising you everywhere, and Komio, that you are the best." One young man, Kazim, that was with him, a personal aide, said, "Sir, I've listened to the cassette. It's not true, sir. That is not what the people are saying. I think the time has come for you to even resign." He said, "No, these are written in a book." He said, "No, it's too late now for me to resign." Of course, the problem came. He was consumed. Tafawa Balewa, as prime minister, was at the airport in Ikeja. And a journalist asked him, "Sir, what do you do about this wildfire burning in the western region?" He said, "I'm at Ikeja here, at the airport. Ikeja is a part of western region. I can't see any fire burning." Do you understand what I'm saying? Countries that subjected their constitutions after the people agreed. South Africa. You understand me? Kenya. You understand me? Slovenia. Denmark. Norway. France. Germany.
Are they better for it?
UK. They are better for it.
So Nigeria needs to take action now.
Iran. Indonesia. Malaysia. We need to take that action. We must face the bull. We must hold it by so that the bull must be driven away from the China shop in such a way that little or no harm is done to the China wares or to the shop, and the bull stays alive.
Right.
We must save Nigeria from herself
Chief
with the
Executive.
urgency of yesterday. Mr. President, sir, I advise you when you were sworn in May last year, is there Google? I say, if the only thing you can first do for Nigeria is to fix Nigeria up through this people's constitution that we all believe in as to how we want to live together going forward, I said, you will see all that problems falling in, being solved by themselves.
Naturally.
They will fall in place.
We are totally out of time, but I must sincerely thank you tonight for your intervention.
Yes,
and extend my regards to all the members of the Patriot and every Patriot that is not a member of the Patriot that are of the Nigerian stock.
Yeah.
Congratulations to you, because we realize that we have a problem as a people.
Yes.
And we are moving gradually with the consciousness in the mind of a lot of Nigerians.
Yes.
Nigerians are no longer docile.
Yes.
They have now realized that their destinies are now in their hands.
The youth, the Gen 6, the Gen Z, they are all protesting because their yesterday has been stolen from them.
And we cannot allow today also to be stolen and flitter away.
Today has also been stolen. And they are now arguing that you can't steal my future again. That is why they are on the streets. Sir, Mr. President, sir, don't let anybody deceive you. Go out by yourself.